Welcome back to Case 0360. I am your host, Pablo Escobar, and today we are stepping straight into the dark, deeply harrowing, and bloody pages of South American underworld history to dissect an absolute masterpiece of criminal warfare, a case so intensely calculated and profoundly disturbing that it completely reshaped the geopolitical and structural landscape of international narcotics enforcement. We need to talk about the definitive, real-life nightmare of the Colombian crime files, tracking the catastrophic evolution of power as it shifted from the explosive, hyper-violent reign of Pablo Escobar's Medellin Cartel straight into the cold, corporate, and terrifyingly sophisticated grip of the Cali Cartel. For over a decade, the mainstream historical narrative focused almost exclusively on the theatrical, loud, and bombastic terror campaign orchestrated by Escobar from his sprawling jungle strongholds. But the emerging archival intelligence and declassified intelligence metrics reveal a much more insidious, chilling reality: the strategic chess match where two entirely opposing criminal philosophies engaged in a total, unyielding war of attrition that turned the streets of Colombia into a high-density slaughterhouse. Today we are pulling back the curtain on the secret operations, the hidden betrayals, and the jaw-dropping systemic corruption that allowed the gentlemen of Cali to systematically dismantle the king of cocaine and inherit a multi-billion-dollar global empire. Before we deconstruct the brutal flashpoints of this underworld feud, map out the terrifying rise of the Los Pepes death squads, and reveal the microscopic forensic trail that brought down the entire network, please take a brief second to support this channel by subscribing, hitting that like button, and turning on the notification bell so you never miss our deep, unfiltered investigative looks into the world's most shocking criminal files. To fully comprehend the sheer psychological friction and strategic complexity of this historic cartel war, we must first examine the two radically distinct, competing operational models that fought for absolute market dominance. In the blue corner stood Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria, commanding the Medellin Cartel through a doctrine of absolute, unyielding violence and public intimidation, a brutal baseline philosophy encapsulated by his infamous rule of plata o plomo, meaning silver or lead. Escobar did not merely bribe officials. He systematically assassinated ministers, bombed commercial airlines, and targeted the Supreme Court to force the Colombian government into institutional submission. In stark, chilling contrast, the Cali Cartel, orchestrated by the Rodríguez Orejuela brothers, Gilberto and Miguel, alongside partners like Pacho Herrera and Chepe Santacruz, operated like an elite Fortune 500 corporation. Labeled by law enforcement as the Cali Gentlemen, these master manipulators viewed violence as a massive, economically inefficient operational failure, choosing instead to quietly invest their staggering multi-billion-dollar cash flows into buying entire political assemblies, banking networks, and legitimate commercial infrastructure, moving their massive drug shipments under a shield of perfect corporate invisibility. The absolute core of this unfolding historical nightmare centers on the precise, terrifying moment when the fragile early truce between these two criminal empires completely fractured, plunging Colombia into a state of total low-grade civil warfare. While the cartels had initially divided the massive United States market with absolute geographic precision, Medellin controlling Los Angeles and Miami, while Cali monopolized the highly lucrative New York City corridor, Escobar's growing egomania and his chaotic, high-density bombing campaigns began to severely threaten Cali's legitimate business operations. The definitive ice-cold turning point materialized in January 1988, when a devastating car bomb decimated Escobar's luxury Monaco apartment building in Medellin, nearly deafening his young daughter. Realizing that the corporate godfathers of Cali had funded the strike, a deeply enraged Escobar launched an absolute scorched earth campaign, orchestrating over 85 targeted bombings against Cali's domestic commercial pharmacies and drugstores, leaving dozens of innocent civilians dead and turning public spaces into a terrifying battlefield. However, international true crime investigations reveal that the most lethal weapon deployed against the king of cocaine was not a conventional army, but a dark, highly calculated coalition born directly out of Cali's immense financial leverage. As Escobar fled into the dense Colombian wilderness following his chaotic escape from his custom-built luxury prison, La Catedral, the Cali Cartel quietly engineered the formation of Los Pepes, a ruthless, highly specialized vigilante death squad composed of rival traffickers, paramilitary forces, and rogue intelligence assets. Funded by Cali's endless financial reserves and working with covert, unacknowledged assistance from elite law enforcement units, Los Pepes systematically hunted down Escobar's internal infrastructure, executing his top lawyers, bombing his safe houses, and assassinating his key financial couriers on a daily basis. By stripping Escobar of his operational networks, they effectively left the world's most feared billionaire completely isolated, terrified, and running for his absolute life through the suburban rooftops of Medellin until his definitive termination in December 1993. The global expansion of the Cali Cartel following Escobar's demise represented a masterful execution of dark economic strategy that fundamentally caught international law enforcement completely off guard. While the world was celebrating the fall of the Medellin monster, the Rodríguez Orejuela brothers were busy mapping out a sophisticated logistics web that spanned across 5 continents, transforming the illicit trade from a chaotic outlaw venture into a streamlined, high-density corporate enterprise. They realized that by replacing small-time smuggler routes with industrial-scale maritime shipping containers, commercial agricultural exports, and complex shell corporations registered in offshore tax havens, they could move hundreds of metric tons of product with an incredibly low risk of interdiction. This systemic integration allowed the Cali Cartel to build an absolute monopoly over the expanding European markets, collaborating directly with Italian organized crime syndicates and Russian networks to distribute vast quantities of contraband into major metropolitan centers, completely dwarfing the financial heights previously achieved by their fallen predecessors in Medellin. The sheer depth of the financial architecture established by the Cali Cartel remains one of the most chilling and highly complex case studies in the history of global financial crime. At their peak, the organization was processing billions of dollars in liquid cash, requiring a vast army of corrupt accountants, corporate lawyers, and high-level banking executives to successfully wash the money into the legitimate global economy. They purchased massive chains of discount drugstores, major real estate developments, automobile dealerships, and even professional soccer clubs, utilizing these highly liquid businesses to layer their transactions and blend their illicit wealth seamlessly with legal commerce. This corporate camouflage was so perfectly designed that it created a massive shield of systemic protection, rendering standard police investigations practically useless, as every dollar traced by forensic accountants appeared to originate from a completely legitimate, tax-paying enterprise with an impeccable corporate history. Behind this sleek corporate facade, however, lay a terrifying network of internal counterintelligence and systemic surveillance that turned the city of Cali into a high-tech open-air prison for its citizens. The cartel's intelligence apparatus, headed by ruthless tactical commanders, was so incredibly sophisticated that it earned the nickname the Cali KGB from American intelligence officials. They utilized advanced wiretapping equipment, intercepted regional telecommunications networks, and maintained a massive payroll of taxi drivers, hotel bellhops, street vendors, and utility workers who acted as permanent eyes and ears on the ground. Any individual suspected of leaking operational data to the authorities, cooperating with foreign agents, or attempting to skim profits from the organization's accounts was systematically targeted for immediate, blood-chilling termination. The violence of Cali was not loud or performative like Escobar's bombs, but it was absolute, mechanical, and silent. Victims simply disappeared from their homes overnight, their bodies quietly disposed of in remote rivers or buried beneath fresh concrete in cartel-owned construction sites. The massive turning point in the war against the Cali Empire arrived when the United States government realized that standard law enforcement tactics were completely useless against an organization that operated like an invisible, multinational conglomerate. The Drug Enforcement Administration, working in absolute secrecy alongside the Central Intelligence Agency and a hand-picked, highly vetted unit of Colombian National Police known as the Search Bloc, decided to launch an aggressive, multi-pronged decapitation strategy. American agents recognized that the Cali Cartel's ultimate vulnerability was its reliance on centralized corporate management. If they could target the top executives simultaneously, the entire logistical and financial infrastructure would inevitably fracture under its own immense weight. This shift in doctrine birthed Operation Cornered, a high-stakes, hyper-classified tracking initiative designed to break through the cartel's wall of corrupt political protection. The structural breakthrough that American agents desperately needed came from an unexpected, highly sensitive internal source. Jorge Salcedo, the hand-picked chief of security for the Cali Cartel's executive inner circle. Salcedo, a highly educated former military engineer, found himself increasingly horrified by the cartel's escalating paranoia and their orders to execute innocent families, realized his own life was on an incredibly tight deadline. In a desperate 11th-hour gamble, Salcedo managed to bypass the cartel's total surveillance grid and make direct, covert contact with DEA agents Edward K. Soroski and Chris Feistel. Operating with a microscopic margin for error, Salcedo began feeding the American handlers real-time tracking metrics, encrypted phone frequencies, and the exact physical layouts of the highly fortified luxury safe houses where the Rodríguez Orejuela brothers were hiding behind false walls. Equipped with this golden internal intelligence, the joint DEA and Search Block Task Force executed a series of lightning-fast, high-density raids across the city of Cali that completely shattered the cartel's illusion of absolute invincibility. In June 1995, elite tactical units breached a luxury apartment complex, discovering Gilberto Rodriguez Orejuela crammed inside a suffocating, custom-built secret closet hidden behind a bathroom cabinet. Less than 2 months later, in August 1995, Miguel Rodriguez Orejuela was captured during a chaotic, high-intensity dawn raid, caught completely off guard as he attempted to escape through a secret rear exit. Within a stunningly short 6-month window, American agents and their Colombian counterparts successfully arrested or eliminated every single major godfather of the Cali structure, including Pacho Herrera and Chepe Santacruz, effectively cutting the head off the world's most sophisticated criminal enterprise. The immediate aftermath of the Cali Cartel's total decapitation triggered an absolute administrative and legal nightmare that exposed the staggering depth of systemic corruption within the highest echelons of the Colombian state. Forensic accountants and intelligence analysts seized thousands of corporate ledgers, encrypted hard drives, and banking records that documented a multi-million-dollar paper trail leading straight to the doors of Congress and the presidential palace. This explosive evidence birthed the infamous Proceso 8000 scandal, a massive judicial investigation that proved the Cali Godfathers had systematically injected over $6 million of liquid drug wealth directly into the 1994 presidential campaign of Ernesto Samper. The revelation completely broken the public's trust in their democratic institutions, proving that the corporate cartel had successfully managed to buy an entire sovereign nation from the inside out, forcing the United States to temporarily decertify Colombia as a partner in the global war on drugs. To permanently dismantle the organization and ensure that the captured godfathers could never manage their multi-billion-dollar empire from the comfort of a luxurious Colombian prison cell, American prosecutors deployed their absolute ultimate legal weapon: international extradition. After a grueling, high-stakes, decade-long legal battle fought through the complex mechanics of international law, both Gilberto and Miguel Rodriguez Orejuela were officially flown under heavy military escort to the United States in 2004 and 2005. Facing an unyielding wall of federal conspiracy and money laundering charges in a Miami courtroom, the aging tycoons realized their corporate shield was permanently gone. In a definitive, historic plea agreement executed in 2006, the brothers pled guilty, accepting massive 30-year federal prison sentences and surrendering a staggering $2.1 billion in global assets, permanently breaking the financial backbone of the Cali legacy. The ultimate tragedy and deeply disturbing legacy of this historical crime file is the chilling realization that the elimination of Pablo Escobar did not solve the global drug crisis. Instead, it merely cleared the path for a far more powerful, sophisticated, and invisible monster to take the throne. The moment the Medellin structure collapsed, the Cali Cartel instantly monopolized the global market, expanding their operations deep into Europe and Asia, and controlling over 80% of the world's cocaine trade while raking in an estimated $7 billion annually. As a true crime investigative host, I need you to understand that the corporate cartel's sophisticated methods of deep-seated political bribery, culminating in the infamous Proceso 8000 scandal, where they allegedly funded an entire presidential campaign, proved infinitely more dangerous to the democratic fabric of Colombia than Escobar's bombs ever were. This case stands as a powerful, haunting lesson that the most destructive predators in criminal history do not always carry weapons in the open. They carry briefcases, manage spreadsheets, and hide their malice behind a mask of high society respectability. Stay locked in to Case 0360 as we continue to bring you the deepest analytical deep dives and exclusive historical crime breakdowns from around the world. Have a safe day, stay deeply analytical about your surroundings, and take absolute care of yourselves.